July of 2014, ISIS militants targeted the Mosque of Jonah for total destruction. They packed the 14th century shrine with industrial explosives. A massive blast reduced the holy site to limestone dust and broken concrete. This was a deliberate attempt to erase the history of Mosul. But the shockwave did something nobody expected. It ripped through the modern floor and cracked open the earth itself. Beneath the ruins lay a gateway hidden for nearly 3,000 years. Militants began digging a secret network of tunnels 60 feet deep. They used heavy drills to carve through the underlying rock. Their goal was to loot artifacts for the international black market. The trade in stolen stone was meant to fund their war. Instead of simple trinkets, they found a superpower nerve center. They had stumbled into the lost palace of King Esarhaddon. Archaeologists later entered the dark tunnels and found giants. Massive stone statues known as Lamassu stood guard in the shadows. They had stayed in their original spots for over 27 centuries. The palace walls featured carvings of women and priests. This artwork remained untouched since the city fell in 612 BC. This accidental discovery solved a cold case that lasted 2,000 years. For centuries, scholars thought Nineveh was just a religious myth. The findings beneath the mosque proved the ancient texts were accurate. This is the story of one of the first superpowers on Earth. It ruled the world, then vanished into the dirt. By 700 BC, Nineveh was the pinnacle of human engineering. 150,000 people lived inside the city walls. A double wall system ran for 12 miles around the perimeter. The inner wall used mud brick for massive bulk. The outer wall used finished limestone to resist rain and wind. This design protected the city from both erosion and heavy siege engines. Nineveh was the heart of the powerful Neo-Assyrian Empire. The territory reached from the Persian Gulf all the way to Egypt. But in 612 BC, the city was wiped out. The location was forgotten so fast it became a ghost. Alexander the Great marched his army past the site 3 centuries later. He did not know he was standing on the ruins of a global capital. The Greek historian Xenophon also walked past these hills. He described the area only as a deserted and lonely place. By the 1700s, Nineveh was classified as a legend. Most people viewed it as a literary invention rather than a fact. Explorers eventually realized the hills were artificial mounds called tells. These mounds are created by the physics of mud brick. When a mud building collapses, it creates a thick layer of debris. New buildings are built on top of the old ruins. Over thousands of years, this process creates a small mountain. Nineveh lay hidden beneath millions of tons of dust and silt. King Sennacherib moved the capital to Nineveh in 705 BC. He built a fortress known as the Palace Without Rival. The structure was over 500 meters long. It was the largest and most imposing building on the planet. The king gathered materials from every corner of his empire. He used cedar wood from Lebanon and gold from the mines of Egypt. The palace contained at least 80 monumental rooms. Miles of stone carvings lined the hallways like ancient propaganda. The artwork showed every battle and every brutal execution. This was designed to have a psychological impact on visitors. Foreign leaders saw the direct cost of resisting the king. The palace walls were 40 feet thick and sat on limestone foundations. Sennacherib also engineered the Jirwan aqueduct to bring in water. This stone bridge used 2 million heavy blocks. It was the first bridge designed to carry water across a valley. Engineers sealed the joints with a natural asphalt called bitumen. This ensured the stone structure remained completely watertight. They even used an early version of the Archimedes screw. This device used a rotating spiral to lift water into high gardens. Sennacherib carved his name into the stone to claim the victory. He turned the desert into a lush and green paradise. But this water system would eventually lead to his city's death. Nineveh did not fall because of a plague or a bad economy. The city was executed in a planned military strike. A coalition of Medes and Babylonians surrounded the city. They maintained a siege for 3 months without breaking through. The walls were too thick for traditional battering rams to work. The invaders decided to target the water engineering instead. They diverted the flow of the local Kosor River. The army built a massive artificial lake outside the city gates. They breached the dams all at once to release the flood. A wall of water crashed into the mud brick defenses. The water liquefied the mud and caused the walls to melt. This created a massive gap in the city perimeter. The coalition army rushed in through the Halsey Gate. They immediately put the capital to the torch. Archaeologists found skeletons at this gate in the 1990s. The remains still wore bronze armor from the final battle. The intense heat of the fires actually saved history. The flames baked 30,000 clay tablets in the royal library. This turned the soft clay into hard and durable ceramic. This process protected the library of King Ashurbanipal. The record stayed intact for over 2,000 years. The world's first superpower became a pile of ash in one night. In the 1840s, the search for Nineveh became a high-stakes race. The two main rivals were Paul-Émile Botta of France and Austin Henry Layard of Britain. Botta served as the French consul in Mosul. He began digging at the mound of Koyunjik in 1842. He found nothing but a few fragments of brick and alabaster. A local weaver told Botta about a different mound called Khorsabad. Botta moved his entire team 14 miles north to investigate. Within days, his workers uncovered the walls of a massive palace. The walls were covered in strange stone reliefs of kings and gods. Botta was so excited he sent a famous telegram to Paris. He wrote the words, "Nineveh is found." This news triggered a massive wave of pride across France. The French government sent more money to secure the site. But Botta had actually made a historical mistake. He had not found Nineveh at all. He had discovered Khorsabad, the capital of King Sargon II. While the French celebrated Khorsabad, Layard was watching from the sidelines. Layard suspected that the true Nineveh was still hidden. He secured funding from the British ambassador to start his own dig. In 1845, he began excavating the mound of Nimrud. His work eventually led him back to Koyunjik. Layard finally revealed the palace without rival. This discovery proved that Nineveh was a physical reality. The race shifted from discovery to a battle for logistics. Both empires wanted the heaviest statues for their national museums. The Louvre in Paris received the first shipments from Khorsabad. Layard knew he had to deliver something even bigger for London. He used wooden rafts called collects, buoyed by hundreds of goat skins. They floated 30-ton stone statues down the Tigris River. The artifacts reached the British Museum in the early 1850s. They triggered a massive cultural obsession with Assyrian history. The museum created a dedicated Assyrian room for the winged bulls. The Lion Hunt of Ashurbanipal became the most famous relief in London. It provided the first detailed look at ancient chariot mechanics. Thousands of people crowded the streets to watch the statues arrive. The museum also received 30,000 clay tablets from the library. These tablets contained a story called the Epic of Gilgamesh. George Smith became a celebrity when he translated the flood story. These artifacts remain the most prized possessions in the museum. They serve as the primary proof of the empire's existence. But for another century, the mounds yielded no major new finds. Researchers eventually believed the site was exhausted of its secrets. The 2014 explosion reopened the case for a new generation. Modern archaeologists returned with ground-penetrating radar. They used lasers to map the looter tunnels with total precision. This led to a wave of new technical discoveries. In 2024, researchers found the Queen Archive. This was a hidden room inside the Arsenal Palace. The tablets show how royal women controlled land and trade. They were much more powerful than historians originally believed. In May of 2025, the Three Sovereigns relief was found. It shows King Ashurbanipal standing as a peer to the gods. This suggests the king was starting to be viewed as divine. In September of 2025, they found a colossal lamassu. It stands 20 feet tall at the Nabi Yunus mound. This is the largest winged bull ever found in history. It is bigger than any statue currently in the British Museum. In early 2026, the team scanned the throne room. They found a double throne dais. Two massive pedestals sat on opposite walls. This allowed the king and his heir to rule together. It was a unique design to prevent a crisis of power. New chemical tests of the soil were done in March of 2026. Traces of copper smelting show a massive industry inside the palace. These secrets were only revealed because of a violent act of war. Nineveh was a city of 150,000 souls. It stopped existing for over 2,000 years. A strange irony finally solved this ancient mystery. The bombing meant to erase the mosque did the opposite. It peeled back the layers of time to show the palace. Every explorer before had missed this hidden gateway. The act that tried to destroy history is what saved it. Terrorists destroyed a modern building, but they exposed a royal world hidden for 27 centuries. This brought the city of Nineveh back to life for everyone. Today, those tunnels are being mapped, and we are uncovering a civilization that was once considered a fiction. The story of Nineveh is still being written, one layer at a time.